The reaction to the Minnesota Vikings' current season has evolved from disappointment to a full-scale crisis of confidence within the fan base. Driven by mounting frustrations and a sense of organizational stagnation, many supporters feel the team is regressing rather than progressing under its current leadership. The conversation extends far beyond wins and losses. It reflects a widespread concern about the franchise's direction and decision-making. This sentiment forms the foundation of the debate unfolding across countless comments and discussions. At the center of this controversy is rookie quarterback JJ McCarthy, whose transition into the NFL has been far more turbulent than anticipated. While early expectations were cautiously optimistic, the reality has been marked by turnovers, hesitant decision-making, and visible discomfort under pressure. Many fans now believe his struggles are no longer temporary growing pains, but fundamental issues that threaten his long-term viability as a starter. The widening gap between potential and execution has become increasingly difficult for supporters to overlook. Observers frequently contrast McCarthy's play with that of previous quarterbacks who faced similar scrutiny early in their careers. However, unlike some of those historical cases, McCarthy's regression appears more pronounced with each passing week, creating concerns about his capacity to adapt. Some fans argue that continued exposure in high-pressure situations may do more harm than good. They fear that confidence, once lost, is exceptionally difficult for young quarterbacks to regain. Amid these concerns, a substantial portion of the fan base has begun advocating for Max Brosmer to receive meaningful snaps. Their argument does not hinge on the belief that Brosmer is a guaranteed solution, but rather on the idea that evaluation requires opportunity. If the season continues trending downward, they contend that withholding such a chance is strategically unsound. The desire to see Brosmer stems from an interest in clarity rather than blind optimism. Beneath the surface, this push for competition carries a more pointed criticism of the coaching staff and front office. Many supporters suspect that Brosmer's lack of playing time has less to do with performance and more to do with safeguarding the organization's original investment in McCarthy. If an undrafted rookie demonstrates superior command of the offense, it would reflect poorly on the evaluators who selected McCarthy in the first place. Thus, what appears to be a simple personnel decision has taken on the weight of institutional accountability. Kevin O'Connell, once celebrated for his offensive acumen and leadership, now faces intense scrutiny from fans who feel the team's identity has eroded. Critics argue that his play calling has lacked cohesion, adaptability, and situational awareness. Specific decisions, such as unusual short yardage calls, have become recurring points of frustration. Supporters who once heralded him as a rising coaching talent now question whether he has plateaued at a critical juncture. Defenders of O'Connell maintain that his challenges stem from the limitations of the roster, rather than his own deficiencies. They point to simplified schemes, reduced reads, and attempts to protect McCarthy with conservative offensive concepts. Yet even these attempts have routinely faltered, suggesting the root of the problem may extend beyond coaching adjustments. This divide illustrates the difficulty in identifying a singular cause for the team's struggles. General manager Kwesi Adofo Mensah is also at the epicenter of fan dissatisfaction, with many asserting that the roster's current flaws are the result of questionable draft decisions and an over-reliance on analytical projection. Detractors argue that key positions lack depth, continuity, and established talent due to miscalculations in recent drafts. They highlight past selections that have failed to mature into consistent contributors. As a result, skepticism about his long-term vision for the franchise has intensified. Conversely, some supporters caution against placing excessive blame on the general manager alone. They emphasize the complexity of roster construction and the challenges of balancing long-term planning with short-term competitiveness. However, even these voices acknowledge that the margin for error narrows considerably when a team invests heavily in a top 10 quarterback. When such a pivotal decision is in question, the ripple effect can destabilize all surrounding evaluations. In the context of these debates, comparisons to the previous season have become increasingly common. Fans note that the roster, coaching staff, and overarching strategy appeared significantly more cohesive before the quarterback transition. Sam Darnold's prior success with the same system has become a recurring reference point, cited by many as evidence that the current issues are not solely structural. These comparisons amplify the perception that the team has taken an unnecessary step backward. The emotional tone of the fan base reflects not only dissatisfaction but also a sense of betrayal. Many expected a competitive season built around an emerging young quarterback who would grow with the roster. Instead, the offense appears constrained, disjointed, and unable to sustain drives. The gap between expectation and reality has deepened the frustration permeating the community. In addition to offensive challenges, fans have expressed concern about visible signs of disengagement within the locker room. Observations about player body language, sideline interactions, and on-field demeanor have fueled speculation about internal friction. Although such interpretations may not always reflect actual sentiment, perception alone can erode trust between the organization and its supporters. The idea of a fractured locker room carries significant weight in discussions about the team's future. The defense, while not without its issues, is widely viewed as more stable than the offense. Even so, many believe defensive coordinator Brian Flores may eventually seek opportunities elsewhere if the team's overall trajectory continues downward. His departure would represent a profound loss of continuity and leadership on the defensive side of the ball. This possibility adds another layer of urgency to resolving the broader structural issues. The cumulative effect of these concerns has led many fans to question the franchise's overarching philosophy. Is the team rebuilding, competing, or merely oscillating between identities without a clear direction? The lack of a unified vision complicates expectations and leaves supporters uncertain about what the organization intends to achieve. Such ambiguity is often more damaging than poor performance alone. In light of ongoing struggles, discussions about potential organizational changes have intensified. Some propose adjustments to the coaching staff, while others advocate for a more comprehensive overhaul, including the front office. A growing subset believes that any meaningful progress will require difficult decisions about key personnel, including the quarterback position. Whether such actions are realistic remains a matter of debate. The question of whether McCarthy should continue starting has become one of the most divisive topics. Proponents of continued play argue that development cannot occur without experience and that early adversity builds resilience. Opponents counter that prolonged exposure to failure risks long-term psychological and mechanical damage. The team's leadership must weigh these competing considerations carefully. For now, the Vikings find themselves at a crossroads, with each decision carrying implications for both short-term competitiveness and long-term viability. The tension between organizational patience and fan impatience is reaching a critical point. Public sentiment suggests that supporters are no longer willing to endure indefinite uncertainty. The team's response will play a significant role in shaping future trust. From a broader perspective, this situation underscores the challenges inherent in transitioning to a rookie quarterback while maintaining competitive aspirations. It requires careful alignment between coaching philosophy, roster composition, and player development. When any component falters, the entire system becomes vulnerable. The Vikings' current predicament exemplifies this delicate balance. Ultimately, resolving this crisis will require clear communication, decisive action, and a renewed commitment to organizational coherence. Whether that means reshaping the offensive identity, reevaluating leadership roles, or reassessing expectations for McCarthy remains to be seen. What is clear is that the status quo has become untenable for many fans. The path forward must be deliberate and aligned with a vision capable of restoring confidence. In conclusion, the sentiments expressed across the YouTube comments reflect more than fleeting frustration. They represent a genuine, existential concern about the direction of the Minnesota Vikings franchise. The debates surrounding McCarthy, O'Connell, and Adofo Mensah are emblematic of deeper structural questions that demand attention. As the season unfolds, the organization must determine whether to stay the course or embrace significant change. Their response will shape not only the team's immediate future, but also the faith of a fan base that has reached a tipping point. We've reached the end of this podcast. If you like this podcast, go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, and share this video. Doing any or all of this is greatly appreciated. See you in the next podcast.